I got every kind of audience out there. And when I yell, why do I get my mic turned down? I'm going to blow the speakers if I don't get it loud. Give me some volume. Now back it off, just below that whine. When I yell, I want to be heard. Because I only yell when there's an occasion for yelling. God's honor is at stake every night. This is not a show. It's a feast. A feast of the faithing experience. Now, it's not an accident we have an in culture. I got every kind of watcher out there.
I'm weary and tired. I just want to rest. My labor is o'er. I want to rest. My labor's o'er. Oh Lord, I'm going someday to that peaceful shore. My labor is o'er and I'm going someday to that beautiful shore. Where I'll die no more. I'll die no more. I know that soon I'll be going, no way of knowing when I shall cross Jordan's foam. I'll cross Jordan's foam. Lord, I know that soon I'll awaken under that starry dawn. Beneath that starry dawn. Ho, 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 Lord, I'm hidden home. I'm heading home.
4.5 years in front of these cameras have taught me a lot of lessons, but one of them is that every time we have a great, exciting victory festival, the next one, inevitably it seems, will be tough. And we can't afford to have that happen tonight. But you that have been regular watchers, and there are thousands of you, some of whom have never missed a program in 4.5 years. Most of the media in the United States that people are used to is, I kid them and say they worship the great God two sides. If they went down on the beach to report on the sun coming up, they'd add a line that there are some on the beach that say the sun didn't come up. And I've tried to figure out why I have no bland audience, it seems. Either people are for me or against me. And when I first came to town, everywhere I went, I was looked at like a freak, most of them against me. After a while, the tide has changed. But I take a stand on any issue that we're dealing with. I have the conviction, if you know your subject, you cannot avoid coming to a conclusion. So I think I polarize people. I take a stand, and whereas other people in media present two sides and leave you to make a choice, but the presenter is sort of neutral, I'm out there taking a stand, and I either end up with people saying, I've been waiting to hear that said, or wanting to go through the television screen and pound me on the nose. And there are some people that I think if Scott's for it, they're against it. That's a negative power if I wanted to misuse it. Just
how far
if I take a stand, I can guarantee and predict the reactions of some crowds.
Have you ever been threatened?
Lots of times.
Can you describe an incident, one or two?
They decided in New England they would seize our property and tax us on the ground that we were not a church, we were a television station. Well, I barricaded myself inside the studio. We were inside the studio for 48 hours. It was rain and sleet. The street outside was blocked. Traffic couldn't go by. People were laying on the street. Their kids laying on the sidewalk. As the sheriff came to barricade or to seize the property, I had a communion table set up and said if he came in, he'd have to come through the door and over the communion table and over me to get in. Well, the sheriff couldn't get through the people. So to save face, they did a cowardly job. And the taxes were in the city of Hartford. They went 8-10 miles away to another city, seized our transmitter with one lone guy who has sugar diabetes. They were determined to somehow break me from walking them. And yeah, I had doors banged in, threats, had to be traveling around with a bodyguard. During those tax battles, it got pretty mean, and people would listen to a little segment and not hear the principle and would think I was anti-union or anti-gay or anti-this, and I became a target. And I'm on so late at night, the night people, that includes a lot of nuts, as well as a lot of intelligent people, make me a target. I'm never alone for that reason.
We're here today to give our friends an idea of what our son was like when he was growing up. I want to say, first of all, that he has been the most wonderful son to his father and I that any parents could ever want. But one of the fellows on the staff here said to me, we want you to tell us some nasty little thing he did. I'm going to. He was about 2 years old. I was frosting a chocolate cake, and that always got him when he could get chocolate cake. So he could barely tiptoe and reach the top of the drain board and stick his finger and go around and get the chocolate cake. So I slapped his hand, and he fell on the floor and began to scream and hold his breath till his face got blue. And I grabbed him up and whirled the cold water faucet open, and he wasn't long getting his breath. And he didn't have any more of those kind of fits during the time that he was growing up.
You know, while he was getting his PhD, doctor's degree in Stanford University, he would come home over the weekends and worked with me in the church. I was pastor of the church up north. And all the time he was working with me, he was still battling against something that he had kind of lost, a certain faith. And then it was revived again, as you've heard him talk about his faith in the resurrection. I think he's proud of his dad, as his dad is proud of his son.
May I say one more thing? Our son is the kind of a person that the ordinary people can understand. Sometimes people educate themselves till they talk over the heads of most people. But our son is just down to earth. And my mind went back when my husband was thinking about when he was a teenager. My mind went back to when he was in the 7th grade. His teacher sent me a little note with a report card, and his report cards was all A's. And she sent me a little note saying, while he was yet in the 7th grade, do you know you have a genius for a son? That's what the teacher wrote me when he was in the 7th grade. So we're very proud of our son.